married men or the pastors or the deacons. It definitely takes two. So it is completely ridiculous to say, hey, it's this woman because she makes up the brunt of the church. That's like so that would be like Adam saying, hey, Lord, oh, no, actually he did. Hey, this woman that you gave me, we can't blame our faults on other people. And then my question to you as well, you're saying the black woman, the black church. So what is it actually that you stand firm on? Are you just going to completely, if you were to date, would it be completely outside of your race because you're saying that the black woman is she no longer has value, no one wants her, she's deemed unnecessary? So that would be my question to you. What you stand firm on as far as religion or as far as what a woman should have of value? Should she be outside of your race, or do you just want us to be stronger as a people?
Okay, now, if I'm going to answer these questions, and I don't have no problem with you disagreeing with what I'm saying, it doesn't bother me. But, I mean, you know, let's try to cut it down because you asked me a lot of stuff in there, and I'm going to try to get to all of it. First of all, you sit there and you ask the question talking about being extreme. I don't know if you've just been beamed in from Mars or whether you've been living for the last 40 years, but the conditions of black people are extreme. We are at the point where we are close to being extinct. You're talking about a people that's on the cusp, you know, of extinction. Have you looked at the conditions of black people? And you want to talk about extreme? Yes, they're very extreme. And you can't solve extreme problems with moderate solutions. You can't deal with extreme problems being politically correct. You can't deal with these problems if you don't want to offend people and tiptoe around, not stepping on their toes. Now, again, like I said, if you want to sit back and debate the percentage of black women in the church, you do that. But I don't think anybody that you ask would disagree with the fact that the black church is overwhelmingly populated with black women. That's Ray Charles could see that. That's not hard to figure out. So now, and then when you say that, and I don't mind you quote me, but when you quote me right. I didn't say the black woman took the brunt. I said she is a co-conspirator. And based upon that definition means that there's equal blame between her and worthless pastors. I did not put more blame on her. I said now she's overwhelmingly keeping the church afloat because she's paying her money and she's opening her pocketbook, and in some cases she's opening her legs. So I don't have no problem you quote me, but I just want you to quote me right. Now, as far as dating, that ain't even an issue. Why does that always have to be an issue when you want to talk about the issues that are prevalent to black people or the church? It always has to come down to just because you're saying something that some people may perceive as being hard against black people, all of a sudden you don't want to date black women. Listen, I have no problem with dating black women. But the fact of the matter is that you can't hold a conversation with them. You can't discuss politics with them. You can't talk about geopolitical issues with them. You can't talk about things that matter and of substance. Now, if you want to talk about Monique or who had on what on the red carpet, or if you want to talk about some other buffoonery or foolishness, then you're right at home with them. But you can't take her and sit in a coffee shop and have a serious conversation as a black female as to why your first black president will not nominate a black woman for the Supreme Court. And you can't have that conversation with no black woman. And this is an issue that black women should be incensed over. But you know what? You don't hear nothing from them. Because you know why? They're too busy trying to defend the fact that they helped murder this black church. Nobody can get away from that. The black church is dead. This black woman is a co-conspirator of that murder. And if you want to bring them up on charges, you're going to bring that pastor up on charges. You're going to have to bring that black woman up on charges. And as an enabler and also a co-conspirator, you're going to have to get deacons.
We have our chat room is on fire right now, and our IMs, I can't keep the IMs off my computer screen. We have comments that range the gamut from Mr. Carroll being insensitive, being ignorant, to do you probably date white women? No black women will date you, and we are getting these comments from Toledo, from D.C., from it's about pretty much, and nobody from the West Coast has chimed in, but the East Coast seems to have a lot pretty much now. So
let me answer that. Can I answer that? Can I say something about that?
Before you answer,
hold on. Let me deal with that. Let me deal with You know, and see, listen, I understand that. I have very thick skin. I'm not new to this. As Andre, you can attest, I'm not new to this. You know, I don't have thin skin. I'm not saying you like either one of you or any of your listeners, but I'm not easily offended by this. So if somebody say, well, you just mad, or what black woman hurt you, or you, how can you talk about black women like that, and your mom is black? You know, that is so insane. It's insane, because if anybody cannot see the difference between our mothers and their generation and this current crop of black females today, then, you know, I'm wondering what they're smoking. This woman she is what she is. She has fallen to the bottom of the dating food chain, and like I said, 90% of it is her own fault.
Ms. Joe?
Okay, well, for one, you know, I respect everyone has their own personal view. I would have to ask Dr. Carroll, my reason for bringing dating in, actually, there was, you know, an underlying issue. If you feel like she's worthless, if you feel like she has low value, low morale, low self-esteem, she doesn't have substance, she's not educated enough, then how could you look to her and say, oh, this is someone that I would consider? I mean, that would be like, okay, well, I'll just settle. I know that you're not worthy of me, but I'll just settle and be with you. And then the reason why someone would bring your mother in or anything of that nature, because either you're going to date someone twice your age who's about 80 years old, or you would have to look at a woman and say, you know what, some of them may have low morale, but there is someone worth it. Some of them may not be as educated, but there are some who definitely have deep roots of education. They may have their PhDs, their masters. They may be as equally as street smart as they are book smart. So I say people tend to tune you out when you get too extreme. If you say there's a problem in the church, the reason why I asked about the numbers, once again, is because I'm not stating, yes, anybody could go to church, as you put it. Ray Charles could go to church and see that the women outnumber the men. But having that said, just because the women outnumber the men, for there to be the co-conspirator, and you keep saying the women, the co-conspirator means the church as a whole needs work. The church as a whole needs to be more educated. The church as a whole has things that has challenges. So one would more respect or more be willing to hear your viewpoints if that was, you know, how you were presenting this. But you're presenting it as you're pointing fingers. And usually when you point fingers, there are three pointing back at you. What is it that you have? No. How do you feel about yourself as a black person since you are attacking other black women and the church as a whole? You know,
Joe, that comment, I don't even think is fitting in such a serious discussion. You know, that comment I would relegate to the playground. If you point the finger, you got 3 pointing back at you. That has nothing to do with this, because you're admonished in your own Bible, if you study it and read it, that you ought to be able to discern. You got to be able to try the spirit. You have to be able to defend your faith. That don't mean that you're judging. That don't mean that you're pointing a finger. All that means is that you're doing what your Bible admonishes you to do. So if you're sitting in a church and you're trying the spirit and you're in tune with God, and that guy is not living the life that he professes and says that he's been called to live, why are you still sitting there? So now when you sit there and you know this guy has stepped out on his wife, because he stepped out on his wife maybe with you, not you per se, but a female or one of your friends, or in some cases, maybe one of your guy friends, and you know that he stepped out with them, but yet you still go there. You know this guy is, and I ain't talking about somebody who stumbles. I ain't talking about somebody that just messes up and makes a mistake. Look, I made a mistake. I apologize. Move on. I'm talking about a lifestyle. I'm talking about a lifestyle of sin that you ain't got no whispers about. You know that this is what's going on, but yet you sit there. So if you stay in that situation, this is when you become just as guilty. So, I mean, look, we ain't going to sit here and debate these numbers. We can go back and forth on numbers all day long. The fact of the matter is, and I'll say it and I'm going to